will address questions. Thank you.
Thank you. My name is Donald Bry. I'm one of the two lawyers that are on the lawsuit that you have copies of this morning, that filed it on behalf of Representative John Barnes. I'm a Republican. Janika, my co-counsel, is Democrat. But this isn't a Republican or Democrat issue. The defamation has to do with specifically the false statements that were circulated by Chris Redfern of the Ohio Democratic Party on the flyer that's part of the complaint, where they accused him of, based upon his vote on House Resolution 130, of disenfranchising voters, number one. House Resolution 130 was the election contest. Chris Redfern didn't vote on that, although he was part of the select committee that reviewed it and intimately knew everything about House Resolution 130. Neither did Representative Barnes. He didn't vote on it, and yet they represented that he voted on it and that somehow his vote disenfranchised voters. Chris Redfern knew that wasn't true, but he said it anyway. They also represented that Representative Barnes, who has been a champion for Medicaid expansion. I realize there are differences of opinion by some people, but he was a champion for Medicaid expansion because he thought that would help the people in his district. And in fact, they sent out a flyer saying that he blocked Medicaid expansion. And they did that based upon a vote upon an earlier version of a bill that would have kept the issue alive after the budget bill. The budget bill is what we're talking about here in 2011, the budget bill. And after that language was put in that would have kept the Medicaid expansion issue alive, it went over to the Senate. They stripped that language out, so we voted against the bill. Governor Kasich, as we all know, line item vetoed that language. It was challenged that he got the Medicaid expansion done through the J-CAR, I believe, and eventually he was challenged in the Ohio Supreme Court, and the Ohio Supreme Court says, you're right, Medicaid expansion is fine. He didn't block Medicaid expansion. Medicaid expansion in Ohio wasn't blocked. It went forward. And nonetheless, Chris Redfern put out some lies to try to defeat Mr. Barnes in his primary, saying that he blocked something that was never blocked to begin with. Now, why are we in a defamation action? The reason we're in a defamation action is because a federal judge said that the Ohio Elections Commission no longer has jurisdiction to consider false statement cases, which is normally where something like this would have occurred. Now, and the second question, I think, is, well, then what are you talking about, the need to join the Ohio Legislative Black Caucus or punishing him for raising issues of not hiring enough African Americans or other minorities in the party? And the reason for that is, in a defamation action, there's two types of malice. People confuse these all the time, even lawyers. One is, when you are dealing with a public figure, and Representative Barnes is a public figure, you have to show that not only the statement was a false statement of fact, but that it was made either knowing that it was false or with reckless disregard for truth or falsity. That's sort of the New York Times versus Sullivan is the name of the case, and it's New York Times versus Sullivan standard for actual defamation for public figures, such as Representative Barnes, who was a public figure in his campaign. That's not a dispute, but you still can't knowingly lie about somebody or say something is false with reckless disregard of whether it's true or false. But there's another type of malice that's true in defamation actions and, frankly, in any other type of tort, which is doing something that is wrong and doing it with hatred, ill will, or malice. When you do that, you can get punitive damages. The difference, I would say, is there's no law against being a racist. I can be a racist in my heart. I can hate people based upon their race. But what I can't do is I can't hire or fire somebody based upon their race. Once I do that, they can sue me. They can't sue me for being a racist, but they can sue me for acting on my racism in a certain way. In the same way, the lawsuit for making the false statement brings in the reasons for making the false statement. Why were they trying to tell lies in order? They could have told the truth and still had a fight, but they chose to tell lies about Representative Barnes, according to the complaint, in order to try to defeat him in his election. And the lies that they told related to the fact that there was a system in place, according to the complaint, that African American, black legislators who are Democrat have to work through the Ohio Legislative Black Caucus. White legislators who are Democrat don't have to do that, but black legislators who are Democrat have to do that. And Representative Barnes didn't feel like he trusted the moral compass of the Ohio Legislative Black Caucus, formerly known as the Black Elected Democrats of Ohio. And we've all seen what's happened in recent years with 4 officers, not general members, but officers, people who are running the Ohio Legislative Black Caucus who have had certain legal issues that you all have reported about. But even at the time, he had some concerns based upon some communications that he had during orientation week in November of 2010 as a newly elected Democrat from his district, and some comments that were made in connection with that are delineated in there left him, and not just him, some other African American Democrats thinking this isn't really an organization I want to belong to. He was punished for that. He was also punished for raising the issue of a lack of minority hires by the Ohio Democratic Party, and I believe also the Cuyahoga County Democratic Party.
That's correct. Pursuant to a letter that the NAACP asked both parties about their position, and one side responded, the other side didn't. And so we watched it to see, give people the benefit of the doubt. Folks are busy, may not have had an opportunity, so I told them just hold off and just wait, give them an opportunity. Calls were made, and they still did not respond. So we wrote a letter, because if they didn't respond for the NAACP, I knew they wouldn't respond for John Barnes in a verbal request. So we wrote a letter to attach the concerns of the citizens that are both in my district and other districts in Northeast Ohio.
Jadika, do you want to follow up on that?
I will just add that our case will show that the Democratic Party leaders were motivated to punish Representative Barnes for his challenge to these racist attitudes and beliefs. And because of his challenges and his decision, his personal choice not to join an organization that, as Don has indicated, had some moral compass issues, he was thereby punished and not assigned to certain committee assignments, as well as he was then placed in a predicament in his own district to fight for his district by placing an opponent there that not only was placed there by the Democratic Party, but was also fraught with false statements.